Blame me immediately.
Okay, we are good to go here. So, don't want to do this. Yes, I want to remove. There we go. All this technology. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Life Barbecue podcast, where we talk everything barbecue and all the things that we normally talk around the pit. Coming to you live from the Uncle Steve Shake Studios in Center Bondstead, New Hampshire. It is 8 o'clock on Monday night, and you know what that means? You can't start the barbecue week unless you start on Monday. So here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously today is brought to you by Uncle Steve Shake. What can I say? We all know Uncle Steve. We love Uncle Steve. 16 amazing flavors. The original, the Gator Shake, the competition line. And don't forget the new Magic Ribs. And also, which way am I turning this? Also, the Pit Life Barbecue Magic Ribs. Thank you very much, Uncle Steve. I love you, brother. Uncle Steve used the freshest ingredients on all his shakes and seasonings. When you place an order, that order is getting mixed that week. So when it shows up at your front door, it was mixed within a couple days. It wasn't sitting on a shelf for a month or two. It was made that week. So you always have the freshest shakes available for whatever your flavor profile is. The customer service, we all know that. He's wearing all the hats. You call the phone number, Uncle Steve is answering. You send the email, Uncle Steve is answering. Uncle Steve might even call you if he has a question on your order, just to make sure your order comes perfect to you. Or if you have any questions, he can work with you on trying to figure out what flavor profile you're looking for a particular cook. Check him out at UncleSteveShake.com, and also on Facebook, follow the Uncle Steve Shake Nation Facebook page for all the latest and greatest in everything Uncle Steve Shake. Just remember, Uncle Steve Shake, shake some on everything. Also brought to you by Joe's Meat Market, the diamond of Royce City, Texas. Man, Gabriel and his crew do a tremendous job. The meat selection is out of this world. If he doesn't have what you're looking for, he can get it. So if you're looking for a specific cut, let him know. He'll get it in for you. Or you need a specific thickness, he can cut it for you. The produce brought in fresh daily. It's Joe's Meat Market is a one-stop shop. He's got your meats, he's got your proteins, we've got rubs, sauces, seasonings, just carrying the line smoking wood products, and much more. And if you stop by and while you're looking at all that goodness, you might get a little rumble in your tummy. He's got you covered there too. Gabriel's mom will sit there and make you food. She'll make fresh tacos, fresh menudo daily. Grab a bite to eat. Sit down with the boys and ladies sitting there. Relax for a minute. Take whatever's going on in the world, put it off to the side. Just sit there, talk some Q with your fellow brothers and sisters, and just soak it in. Like I said, Gabriel is a tremendous guy. The whole crew, all the Texas Barbecue chapter boys there, the Extreme Barbecue. It's a great time. So check them out in the Royce City, Texas area. Stop by and the crew. Joe the win. Let me just try to share this out real quick. and then we'll get. Says I'm live. There we go. Oh, I don't need to hear me. I don't like my voice, by the way. Just saying. There we go. Posting. Oh, so, ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited about this evening. I met this wonderful woman this past year down in Houston, and it was just like we always say, that barbecue family. And was gave me a few minutes of her time doing my interviews down there at the Houston Livestock and Rodeo. A big hug like we've known each other for years, big smile, and we had literally, and she'll confirm this, we have never met in our lives till that day. But that's the beautiful thing about barbecue, that we are all family and we're all brothers and sisters, and it's a wonderful community, and we're all truly blessed to be in it. So without any further ado, or as I would say, let's get down to the brass tacks. Ladies and gentlemen, from Ubon's Barbecue in Yazoo City, Mississippi, please welcome Leslie Roark Scott. Leslie, how are you, darling?
Wonderful. It is hot in Mississippi, man. So I just bought, well, I say adjust. In February, we bought a food truck. And so I have kind of moved my operation onto the road. And right now, I'm going 3 days a week out to a construction site and setting up. And I'm looking forward to November. I'm not going to lie to you. It's hot as hell out there.
We've been on a stretch up here in the Northeast for a while. We had about 2.5 weeks of over 100, and then the index on top of that, and cooled off for a couple days. Then it jumped back in it this week. But today is supposed to be the last day, and then
Oh, I
it's gonna,
hope so.
rumor has it, drop into the 70s for the rest of the week. And we got the thunder and lightning going, so I'm watching my little signal icon here.
Seeing what's coming and going, right?
Oh, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. But Leslie, I have so much to talk to you about. So for anybody who might not know, I don't know how they won't know who the barbecue princess is. But for anybody who might have been, living under a rock, or for that matter, just got into the barbecue game,
Just started.
can you give us a little bit rundown of who you are, and we're going to get into the history of
The
Ubon.
minutia of it.
Yeah.
So I'm Leslie Roark Scott, and I am the owner of Ubon's restaurant in Yazoo City. Yazoo City, Mississippi. Ubon was my granddad. He was named after the doctor that delivered him, and the doctor was named Ulysses Bond. And so U period BON is where he landed on a birth certificate. So there's only one of him. And yeah, he was who started our family's barbecue tradition and gave that to my dad. My dad was a prolific pitmaster that if you didn't meet him, I wish you had. And passed it down. So I'm the fourth generation of my family's history as a barbecue pitmaster, and my son Jacob is our fifth. So it goes all the way back.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, man. Let me just get that. There it is.
We
Get our
There
little
it
ticker going.
goes. Look
There
at you. Now
I get it
fancy.
right once in a while. Once in a great while, some of the boys will say. Some will say not ever. But like I was saying, some of the boys are going to yell, here we go right off the bat. Well, nice of you to make an effort to start on time. Only 3-ish minutes tonight.
Hey Kent, that was 100% my fault. All me.
No, it was fine. We have Big Rome. It was a pleasure meeting you. He was one of the guys with me when we came to the tent.
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh
we had
man.
that was
You
that.
know,
Let's start with that. That's a great
okay.
place. now you were there with a whole group of people. It was you, it was Barbecue Ninja, um, James Dodson,
Bobby Oliver.
Ollie Oliver was there, Jay. Oh, was it JB? No. Oh, why can't I remember?
Was it Justin DeWitt? Josh
Justin,
DeWitt.
Justin Do It.
I don't know
He's
why I
Josh.
said Justin.
Josh.
Josh DeWitt,
Yes,
the best rub on the planet last year.
yes.
JDQ. Yep, yep. I
Yeah,
tell you
that's
what,
it. JD.
it's so funny because like uh, Josh DeWitt and I only met about 3 years ago, but I feel like he's been, one of my best friends since I was a kid, and it's so amazing how quickly that can happen in what we do. um
Yeah.
my son, we talked a little bit earlier. My son was awarded the scholarship from the Barbecue News, and such a huge, huge, huge deal to our family, as I'm sure you can guess.
And
Um, that kid,
there it is. Tire right
that
up on
it just
Jago.
makes me so proud, man. I'm so proud of him. That kid, um, that kid started barbecue like before he was even born.
Yeah.
He while I was pregnant, we made finals at Memphis in May. So, it was like it was part of his DNA. And so just so excited for him to get to just be put in the spotlight, because sometimes your princess kind of steals it. So imagine that. Imagine that.
He's
But
got,
all that way back around, you brought up the Barbecue Ninja. The Barbecue Ninja and I were in college at the same time,
okay.
and knew each other. He was actually my brother in law's roommate. So we go back to the 90s. And he started cooking with a team, and his team was a bunch of fraternity boys that were maybe in their first or second year of real life. And the next to last time he cooked with them, um, the person that was supposed to show up with rub didn't show up, and so he borrowed some from us. And the person that was supposed to bring the meat didn't show up, and so he had to go by that. And the person who was supposed to bring the Gatorade and the beer didn't show up. So I think Monday after that contest, my daddy called him and said, "Hey, buddy, you want to go cook with me?" And we haven't looked back. That was 97. We've been together since then. There's a lot of
Wow.
marriages that hadn't lasted since then.
Absolutely. And oh, Big Rome is saying right now they've actually brought JDQ seasoning and Bobby's all the seasoning to Joe's Meat Market. So Gabriel
Look,
has the boys in the house.
that is, look, I will I took some rubs to teach a culinary class, and I wanted the kids there to like see what really good was, all the way to like really bad. And so yeah, so I had those two as my top two rubs for people to look at and see what it's about. So
Uh,
y'all go pick some up.
Absolutely, and they're fantastic. I was lucky. Josh and Bobby were gracious enough to give us a couple bottles while we were down there. And but while we were down there, it was really the tent. I guess the Team Royal Oak. You
Well,
know,
it's actually, we're called the Brew Crew there down in
Brew Crew.
Houston.
Yeah.
Me and Craig, and this is such a silly story, so just forgive me, but me and Craig, because we've been on TV, one of our friends introduced us to a couple of guys who had also been on TV. And so that was how we all met and joined that group.
Okay.
The One of the leaders of the group, Cutter Brewer, was on MasterChef. Jesse Romero was on MasterChef. And it's been fun, for when we first started cooking with them. It's been probably 6 years. um they were there for the party and had not, you know like you know how we go and do this every weekend? Like
Mhm.
they weren't doing that. They were doing that when, cooking at the rodeo. And, we were allowed the opportunity to jump in with them and become part of that team and bring in the best. And for us, Craig's already gathered that up. Our Team Royal Oak is incredible. And of course, Josh is part of that. Bobby's part of that. James is part of that, Erica. And, it's amazing how, it only takes one little ember to get the whole crowd ignited. It's one common thing. And then we're all on fire and ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, 100%. With the TV, especially now these days, once, I've always said whenever I talk to people, they ask, how did I get into it? And a lot of the people around my age, we all say the same thing. We were sitting around watching TV one day, and we
Hmm.
stopped on this thing, and it was people cooking barbecue and a contest sometime, and I found myself watching it for hours, and then when I
Hours,
shut
right?
it off, I had those famous words of, "I can do that." Next thing you know, you're running out, buying a smoker, buying grill, hitting the butcher shop and going, "All right, now what?" And I got
Now,
all
what do I do?
you know,
Well, I think that I have. I, okay, so if you don't mind, I'll kind of start at the top. When I was 16 years old, my dad started doing competition barbecue. When I was about 12, he started selling Ubon's barbecue sauce.
Mhm,
And so he would deliver to the little grocery stores all over the Mississippi Delta, and found out about a competition in Cleveland, Mississippi in 1989. And 1990, we hit the competition circuit pretty hard. We went to Memphis in May, our first year in 91. And we watched the small backyard competition like grow into this international phenomenon over the last 30 years. And I mean, it's incredible. If you look, for me, my story makes a big jump. um we opened our restaurant in 2003, and in 2004 we were invited to the Big Apple Barbecue Block Party in New York City. And at that point, Danny Meyer had opened Blue Smoke. He had consulted with Mike Mills, who, the legend Mike
mhm,
Mills, 17th Street. And Danny's from, I think, St. Louis. And so he had a full vision of American barbecue. And he felt like it was his responsibility as a barbecue restaurant owner in New York City to educate New Yorkers about the different dialects of barbecue. And so with that block party, he brings people from Texas, people from Mississippi, people from everywhere, and congregates them. And that that introduction um, happened with John Marcus. John Marcus came to the Big Apple Block Party in 2006, 2007, and
mhm,
cooked with Chris Lilly. And the same thing happened to him. We got to show people this.
yeah,
And from that, I'm sure that wasn't the first step, but as far as I can tell, it goes from there to the world. By 2009, 2010, Food Network had started doing some barbecue themed TV shows. Chopped had had their first Grill Master season. Um, and I don't know, my dad and I were on Barbecue Pitmasters in, I think, 2015.
mhm,
And it just changed everything. It changed everything for us. It truly did. And it made it was like we automatically got to make friends because people recognize my daddy. And it's funny, he'll still pop up on Destination America, his episode of Pitmasters, and people identify. He was cute and funny, and people wanted to hang out with him. And it it changed the course of our business. It's incredible what it's done for us.
Yeah, it's those shows. I'll still go back and find myself watching them, binge watching them all
Yeah.
day long. And I got so twisted with it that I got to a point that I'd watch it, but I would drown the sound out. And I was literally shigging everybody on screen. I'm looking in the background. I'm not paying attention to what they're saying.
No.
Um, I'm looking to what's in the background, what's on this shelf, what's on that shelf. Like I know one of I don't know if it was Barbecue Pitmasters or maybe one of the early ones. It was Myron, Tuffy, Big Mo, Michael Character,
That was
and
us. Yeah, that was yeah, we were on that one.
all that one group to the different contests. They kept the scorecard. This was when Mo was still cooking on the big green eggs.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the very beginning. And one of the episodes there, they're in his trailer and he's mixing up his sauces. Yeah, I got a special blend and this. And he didn't quite have one of the jars of sauce turned quite enough
Right.
around. And you just saw the side, and anybody who knows that was Blues Hog Original. Yeah.
Busted.
But we're using Blues Hog in that, so I'm there with a notepad, just taking down notes of anything I could find. But I think that was the beauty of it, that finally, for all those years of barbecue being so secretive, that everybody, your dad, all the other guys coming out and putting it in the forefront.
Right, right.
This is why I do this.
Right, right.
This in order to get to my next step when I do this.
Right, right. And
And
my dad, I'm sorry, Titus is letting you know that my chickens are going to bed. My dad, he felt like it was his job to teach people how to cook barbecue. Anybody that ever said, "Hey, can I come watch you do whatever?" I can't tell you how many times that he sat at a table and gave a Memphis and May style presentation to somebody so that they would know before they went in and sat at the judge's table what to expect. That's the only way that we keep this. I hate to call it a sport because it's a lifestyle, it's a
yeah,
culture, but that's all of that. That's how we keep doing it, is by sharing. And so that's always been really, really important to us.
oh yeah.
Mm.
I remember, I don't know how long ago, I had Cosmo on and we were talking about the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
It was, when I started and no one was saying anything. So I had made up some rubs or injections and was handing them out, and, I'm finding them on the floor, and, and no one's telling me nothing. But then recently, Heath Riles has been saying it a lot. He goes, I'll tell you, and he says it, and it's perfect. I'll tell you exactly 100% A to Z what I do. You
Yeah.
still need to pull it off.
Right, right.
You
Well,
still need
and Daddy used to say, he used to say that, he said, I know what the ingredients are to make my mom's pecan pie, but I need to be able to do that anywhere that I go. I mean, it may not be the same everywhere, but you have to figure out how to make it be the same everywhere. Like you can, I mean, gosh, we want to sell people our products, we don't want to hide what we're doing. And so that makes perfect sense. That, I can remember before there were classes being taught and before we really knew what we were doing, and it changed super fast. We went to help teach a judging class for MBN, and we were one of the teams that was doing a presentation, and I did my blind box the way I'd always done my blind box, and they showed that as a blind box not to be turning in. Like, this is an example of what not to do. And I had just been out of it for a year and a half. I blinked my eyes and the blind boxes went from a full square of meat to, pulled pork and money muscle and all of that.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
if you're not in it all the time, you don't know that that's the change being made. And so, yeah, so I've watched it evolve and I've gotten run over by competition barbecue. I mean, just a skid mark on my head, but you know, we still get out there, we still do stuff. One of the things I learned is if you can't do it good, you can call your friends and they can come do it good for you.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
See the
And
aforementioned friends.
speaking of MBN, if I'm not mistaken, you hold the title of the first woman to GC a MBN contest. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it was even back before it was MBN, when it was Memphis and May sanctioning network.
Oh,
Um, that was 1992. I was 19 years old, and I told my dad that I wanted to do the rib presentation at our table. And so I did it a few times, and I noticed that people wouldn't talk to me. They would talk to my daddy, and I was like, no, I want them to talk to me. And if that means that I need to be out here at 5 a.m. cooking ribs, then that's what I'll do. And so I started, just kind of took that over as my own. That was my category. And in 92, we won the Mississippi State Championship, Columbus, Mississippi, Possum Town Pig Fest. And I tell you, I mean, it's something I won't ever forget because I've talked about it so much. So it'll be like deep in my dementia. But it's one of those things that it wasn't a big deal then. Everybody was happy because I'd won it, because they'd seen me out there, getting dirty and
mhm.
unpacking and putting up tents and all that stuff. So it wasn't oh, a girl won it. It was, oh, Leslie won it. And so it wasn't until just decades later that I realized there's not a lot of chicks around here. And watching that change has been one of the greatest things ever. I mean,
Yeah.
seeing all of the women that are in this and love it as passionately as I do, it's
Yeah.
thrilling.
Yeah, because you see more and more out there today, but like when you were talking that time, it was really only you and Melissa, really.
Yeah, Melissa, let's see. Melissa came on in the 90s. Amy Mills was out there with
Yeah.
Mr. Mike. And there was a team called Red Hot Smokers, and it was Wayne and Linda. And so, so they were out there. It was usually the guys that were sitting at the table. But yeah, Melissa and I were really early out there. Yeah, it was um like I say, it's been amazing watching more women get involved with it. And it's been even more amazing that the guys don't care if it's a woman or not. Like, they see you roll up and they know competition's here. And it's just less and less about that. And that's exciting. That puts us on an equal playing field.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The difference between the different awards and everything. Did obviously there's seasonings and barbecue sauces and hot sauces. There is that award, which that's for the podcast. That was my
Right.
250th episode. But the only other award here is this one, and it's CMAX Riverfest Barbecue Cook-Off 2021, and that's my kids for their
Oh, that's good.
second place ribeye in the kids' shoot they had at the event. But I was so proud of them because they're
Yes,
out
yes.
here. We're out here teaching. All right, how do we do this for CMAX party? And okay, do this,
Right.
time it out. I go, you hold the tongs, you start counting. you know, when you get to about 100, when you get to about 150, you tell her, you flip it, you start counting again. Get the team thing. and they showed up and they were seasoning it, and they were coming
Amazing.
there, and yeah, it was beautiful. But yeah, that one right there,
That's I
that's
I
my
know that
favorite.
feeling. I mean, and I reflect on my daddy now. What I know exactly how my dad felt when he was standing there watching me sit at the table and present ribs, because I felt it, because I just watched my son do the same thing at Memphis in May and get a fifth place. I mean, it runs deep, it comes straight from your soul.
Mhm.
It's incredible that smoke can tie a family so tightly, but it does. Ties us right
Oh,
up.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, with the TV, you have been on so many shows. Like you said, Chopped Grill Masters,
Yeah.
um,
We did
Beat
Beat
Bobby
Bobby Flay.
Flay, uh,
We did
barbecue
Barbecue USA.
barbecue USA, Pit Masters. I'm pretty sure you did an episode of Smoked.
I did. I did. Me versus Brooke Lewis. It was
Yes,
awesome.
yeah,
It was a day, man. It was awesome. That was
yeah.
one of those days where I didn't care which one of us won. I've never cared less about who won, except that I was so freaking proud of her for winning, because she's awesome. She's, in fact, she's invited me to be on an all girls competition team in Key West coming up in a
Oh,
in a few
wow.
weeks. And so, yeah, so I'm like, I'm really excited. I think there's fishing and lobstering, so I'm hoping they're just going to let me
Oh,
do fire, because I don't know how to lobster.
is that the one with through Baron Burton with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
W
yeah.
sauce? Oh, I've heard so much
I'm
about it. And
so excited.
they did a write up in Barbecue News for last year's event. So this is the second year they're having
The
it.
second one,
And
yeah.
everybody I talked to or listened to, and oh man, it was a time. They were, they can't wait to get back. You know, they literally had green eggs in the ocean.
Right.
We started and the water was in our ankles. By the end of the cook, the water's at our knees, almost touching the bottom of the egg. It was
Well,
wild.
they told me we won't be cooking in the water. We'll be poolside this year. So
Oh,
they must have learned.
it must have been real quick. That tide can change day to day. But we'll pause for just a minute because we have a comment here from Mr. Harold Brock. Looking
Oh,
good. Thank you for the smash burgers.
that's some of my close home folks. Those are some of my they started as my customers, but as a restaurant owner, I don't know how you just have customers. They become your family. That's just all there is to it. And so one of the things we've been on the road pretty much since early July. And so some of my regular folks are kind of missing us. So we're excited to pop up at home that later this week and get some barbecue floating around Yazoo City again.
There you go. There you go. But with the shows, I don't want to say they've gotten awfully similar because each one's different in their own way. But you were on another show that I saw, and I really like how they did it. And it was Barbecue Country
Oh,
with Mark
so awesome.
Lambert. How
Yeah.
was that experience? Because you guys weren't exactly cooking, but you
Right,
were as
right,
a mentorship and you
right.
were helping each other out. How was that whole process? Because it
That,
just looked like it was best way I could describe it was a family style competition.
yeah. It was truly, that was probably the my favorite thing that I've filmed. Um we were paired up with teammates, and the girl that I was paired with, Sherry, is
Yeah.
just she came and was with my team at Memphis in May this year. I mean,
Oh, really?
we'll be friends like from now on. She's a permanent part of my world. And I think a lot of us mentors came away feeling that same way.
Yeah.
So many of us, like I know Brittany has been with Hottie Toddy Barbecue. She's gone out with the Burns family, and Miss Barbara was with Alan at Boys Night Out at
Mhm.
Memphis, and so there were a lot of like really strong bonds that got made during that. The idea of the idea of it being playful was something that I really really enjoyed. It
Yeah.
was not a, I'm gonna, knucklehead. It wasn't any
Yeah.
of that stuff. It was, hey, let's go have fun. And that's what ultimately that's what we do is we do this to get to have fun.
Yeah. And for anybody out there that hasn't seen it, go. You can find the entire season on YouTube on oh
Country Network.
country, yeah, country TV, or just search
Barbecue
barbecue
country.
country, and it'll come up to the YouTube channel, and they're all there. And like I said, it was so fun. It was playful. They put you in at the beginning with who you teamed up with, and then they kind of, Mark
Rock
would
the
walk
boat a little bit.
around and, yeah, stir the pot a little bit, and then he'd surprise everybody and go, "Okay, pitmasters, you're out. What? So you're back there. Then you got a 3 minute thing, and you guys are hitting cast iron pans, getting called back in for a time to help, and it was fantastic. But then it came down to the judging, and it was a family style meal.
Yep.
So
Everybody ate it.
everybody involved, everybody cooking, or all the contestants and all the mentors, you all sat down at the table, had a little prayer, and then you dug in and you enjoyed everybody's food, and then they made the decision from there. It was, like I said, it was like the other shows, but it was very different at the same time. So I just
Yeah,
love the
just
fact that you loved it.
it truly was one of my favorites that I've done. It was just I loved working with Sherry. She and I are just, I don't know, she's just one of those people that you just click with. And
Yeah.
the second episode that she and I were in, um I thought they went a little long, letting Mark and Peyton mess around in my kitchen. And so
Yeah.
I actually was like, okay, that's enough of that. And I wasn't told that I could go run them out. I just had had enough of it and ran them
Yeah.
out. I'm like, they are messing with my girl. Get out of here.
So the one last
So,
question on that, on barbecue country, is if you were to be called and notified of a season two, obviously you're gonna jump at the opportunity. But the one question I had: will you take advantage of that chalkboard more? That was the one thing that never stuck with anybody. They'd be literally leaning on it, talking about it, and no one's writing a darn thing down.
me and Sherry had our notebooks out and we were like
Yes,
writing on little notepads. And Russ was like, but what about the chalkboard?
see that thing over there? It's got the piece of chalk on top. Oh, they would get a kick out of it because everybody
Right.
was there.
There's these
Oh,
all these gorgeous tech, all this amazing smokers and grills and grill guns and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, but what about the chalkboard?
boy. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Um, so let's get into Ubon's, and I guess a little bit about your dad, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Um, you obviously you grew up with your dad and helping him and everything, but you didn't start out as a chef or in the culinary world. You were in
Right.
social work.
Right, right. When I got out of college, I was a home health and hospice social worker. And when you're 22, 23, and helping people through the end of their lives, you grow up real fast. And I felt like I kind of lost a little of my playfulness. And so I took a job as the executive director for an art program for people with disabilities, and was able to set up and have artists go into special ed classrooms and have artists who taught lessons to disabled vets. And so to me, nonprofit work is almost synonymous with who I am. Um, you can look at the balance sheet of my restaurant and see that I'm a much better nonprofit manager than business person. I'll be the first one to tell you that. But the convergence of the two has been an incredible thing for me. I am able to go work all over the world doing fundraisers for different people. The contest in Key West raises funds for children with brain cancer. We do Hogs for the Cause down in New
Mhm.
Orleans, and that's also an organization that takes care of children with cancer. Um, we do the Chef Jeff Mishner event at Pig Beach in Queens, New
Yep.
York. Um, and I've got Holy Smokes coming up in Charleston later this summer. We'll do the Hilton Head Island Rock and Ribs for the Carl Ruiz Foundation. So I really feel like, there's a definite line between where I was and where I am. And it's just exciting to get to a point where I can focus more on being able to help other people. I've always felt like barbecue is an easy way to bring people together. I mean, I'll tell you, I've shown up at the Mississippi State Capitol with a box of 150 sandwiches, and nobody discriminates against anybody. There is no politics when a pork sandwich is involved.
Right.
If the most like contentious part of the conversation is if you like a mustard sauce or a barbecue sauce, you've reached a place where there's equality and peace. And I don't know. I feel like that's sort of why I end up doing, or what I've done with all of the opportunities that I've been given.
Yeah. I actually posted something the other day from Anthony Bourdain, and it was the quote: "Barbecue might not bring world peace, but it sure is a good start."
Yeah,
You
agreed,
know,
right?
but
Agreed. I've
so
I've loved seeing lots of chefs that have moved from fine dining over into barbecue and bringing a lot of that. And I think a lot of that comes with just what you just said, is that there's a lot of peace in what we do, and you
yeah.
have to practice patience if you're going to barbecue. And so, for us to be able to have chance to practice patience with each other is pretty amazing to me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll tell a little story that just happened. Well, it happened recently, but the connection has been a few years back, and I know he's going to listen to this. You know, we had an event down in Rhode Island back Fourth of July weekend, and sorry, let me start over. I started this podcast back in 2018. So we're actually 6 years as of the 8th. So as of Wednesday this week, it'll be going 6 years.
Congrats.
A
That's
couple
amazing.
of years ago, I got an email from this kid Braden, and he would email me, hey, what about this? Or what about different topics? And so we would correspond back and forth. And and his email was what it was, but it was from his school,
Hmm.
and his school was the Perkins School of the Blind, which is up
Oh.
here in Massachusetts. So I sent him the replied to one of the emails. I go, listen, if I'm pressing, tell me to shut up, But I noticed, the email address. Oh yeah, I'm a student there, and you know, I I'm hard of vision and whatnot. it's like, but he goes, I found your podcast. I love it. And I love talking about it. And thank you for introducing me to your guests. And I check them out on YouTube. And, and it was awesome. Like I said, we've been emailing back and forth at least 4 years now.
Wow.
Fast forward to 4th of July weekend. We're at a contest down in Rhode Island. And my friend Matt, who was running the event, got a email or a phone call from this woman of saying her son loves barbecue. He had a couple special needs, but is it the event open to the public? He'd love to come and meet some of these guys. Because some of the Texas guys, Bill Purvis and Carlos
Oh
Calzada,
yeah.
they came up for the event and all that. So there were people from all over the country at it. And Matt's like, absolutely, come on down. Let me know when you get here, and we'll introduce you to whoever you want. And Matt had got the name wrong, was calling him Brandon. So I had seen them get out of the car, and it was raining. They had ponchos on, and they're going back and forth. So I start walking around, going to check in with some of the boys, and I come around the corner, and we were at Billy Gillespie's from Smoking Hogs out of Massachusetts at his trailer. And I come around the corner, Matt goes, "Oh, and here's Johnny Mags. Do you know the podcast?" He goes, "This is Brendan." I'm like, "Brendan." And then his mother spoke up and said, "No, it's Braden." And it went, I'm like, "Wait a minute. Is this the Braden? My email pen pal for the past 4 years?" And the face on his parents were, oh my God, that that I just come walking around the corner, and technically me and Braden have known each other for a few years.
Right. And
And,
have never met. Like amazing.
it was a big hug, and we were talking and introducing him to Bill Purvis and Carlos and all the rest of the crew, and he was in his glory.
Just
But it
in
was
his element.
that thing that none of this would have happened if it wasn't for barbecue.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
these special moments that normally in any other sense or any other thing would be overlooked. But
Exactly.
it's at
Exactly.
our core. Is
It's
the
it's
giving back is the first part of what we do.
it
Then we build
absolutely
around
is. We
it.
want to it feeds us in so many different ways. I mean, I'm just I I can't believe that what I started doing when I was in a kid is an entire subculture. I mean, it's incredible to me that there are people in other parts of the world who get together and do what we do, just out of absolute love for it. Houston's one of my favorites because the first time that Craig and I went, we hung out in the International Village. And
Yeah,
so we've made friends, and we had been, Craig and I went to Melbourne, Australia to do a festival down there. And so we had all kinds of, people in common with people from the other side of the world. It's just,
yeah,
it'll never stop blowing my mind. I mean, I think to be from a time where you were lucky if you got to see your friends because they were set up next to you at Memphis, and maybe you would see them the next year, to being where we're all talking about it and we're all, it's incredible to have watched it. It's incredible.
yeah, yeah. But it's fun. But back to the restaurant. You know, so your dad opened it up, and how, like you said, you were in the social work aspect
Right.
time. How did you go from that into I guess joining forces with your dad.
Full time. My husband is a family doctor, and the way things lined up, he finished his residency and got his first job at the same time that my dad was opening his restaurant. And so I had already decided that I wanted to go to culinary school, and I was I had decided, okay, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna go to school. And Dad opened his restaurant, and I did a semester of culinary school while I was trying to manage, but man, restaurant business is tough. And I said if I had just finished culinary school, maybe it wouldn't have cost as much money to learn the restaurant business this way, where you're just kind of guessing. But he and I joined him in 2004. We opened up multiple restaurants, and that didn't work because none of us knew how to do it at all, and so we reconsolidated back to just Yazoo City. And I had to say to my daddy on a regular basis, like, he would have loved for us to have been as busy as a Cracker Barrel every day. And we didn't have but 40 seats, and we're in an impoverished part of the world, so people had to be coming here to get here. And so
Yeah.
I I I can't believe that we've gotten as much spotlight as we have, because we're such a small spot on the side of the road. But I credit that to my daddy. His personality was just enormous and wonderful. And he's I tell you, when I we got an invitation to cook at the James Beard House in New York. And yeah, that was, I mean,
Oh,
I was we just passed our anniversary. It was 6 years ago, last week. And I went through this like imposter syndrome kind of thing where I was like, they're going to find out that I'm not a real chef. Like, I didn't even graduate culinary school. And I sent an email to my chef from culinary school, and I was like, I'm fixing to go be at the Beard House and looking at pictures of James Beard, looking at me going, "You're not a chef." And she sent back and she said, "That's not true." She said, "You were a chef when you got to me. You were you had practiced and perfected your art. And just because you had not practiced and perfected the mother sauces until you went to school doesn't mean you weren't a chef." And between her and my friend Carl Ruiz, they kind of gave me a little bit of extra, confidence that I needed to be able to walk in there. But again, like, how did that even happen? How did that
yeah.
happen? I mean, it took 30 years, but that's a kind of an overnight success if you're not bothered with counting days.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, I am incredibly grateful, and not only do I get to do this, but I've gotten to do it with my family, and it just, man, it's just good stuff. It's just good stuff.
Yeah. Now you took, I guess, the full reins when Dad passed, and that was 2018.
18, right? Um,
And
I would say that I was kind of running stuff by about 2015.
mhm,
That year, the 2018 year that we lost my dad, I can look back at it and realize what was going on as opposed to when I was in it. But he was diagnosed with, only like 27% of his heart functioning, in February of that year. And it came time to go to Hogs for the Cause. And I was like, "Daddy, do you think that you should stay home and maybe, rest?" And he was like, "Do you not want me to go?" I'm like, "Well, hell, let's go." And he did the same thing in Memphis, and he did the same thing. We went out to Denver, and he was, he was actively grumpy with me because I'd gone to the James Beard house without him when he died, because he didn't want to miss anything. And I
yeah,
don't blame him. I don't blame him. What we do is fun. And so, that last year, he was more of my I'd put him out front and let him do all the hard work, which was visiting with folks and having his smile ready. But I will tell you this one thing that's pretty funny. The first year after we lost him, we went to Memphis in May, and I took the same amount of alcohol that I've taken to every Memphis in May for 15 years, and I came home with half of it. And we all kind of started talking, and we realized that my daddy, if you walked up to him before you could even say your name, he had a cocktail in your hand and wanted you to sit next to him and talk. And I have a lot of people that are like, "Where's my cocktail?" And I'm like, "I don't drink. I'm sorry. I didn't even think about it." So I have been accused of losing family traditions because I don't bring a lot of bourbon, but it's still there.
Oh,
I still got my Bloody Mary mix out there. So
yes, and we're gonna hit that because we the first time we spoke in Houston, we teased that at the very end was the Bloody Mary mix.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I love that. But like you were saying in 2018, and that's where like I was saying earlier, that's when I started my podcast.
Right.
And I had been barbecuing about a year or so. And I wouldn't say anything serious, I was still, feeling my way through things. But I lost my mom
Oh,
in April of 2018.
tough year.
And I learned everything about my cooking through her.
Right, right.
She she just thought I was lazy, but I would sit there and I just watch what she was doing on this sauce or this and this, and I just would absorb it.
Yep, yep.
And when I started barbecuing, it's like it would all come back to me. Oh, I'll do
Hmm,
this.
hmm.
I'm gonna do this. And then when she had passed, I was lost. And my wife, God
Yep.
bless her, the best thing that had happened to me was that woman upstairs. Um, she came out to me, Leslie, and handed me the debit card, the ATM card. She goes, I don't care what you have to do. Go to the butcher shop, get whatever the hell you need. Go get your
Hmm.
wood, go get your charcoal, and you stay out here and cook whatever you need to cook, and you're not allowed back in this house till you got your head right. Because she could just tell that
It
I
was
was
just,
not on
yeah,
this planet. I was no
yep.
longer on this planet. Leslie, I sat in front of that house for 2.5 days,
Wow.
just cooking, just cooking.
I'm just cooking. Yep.
Brisket, ribs, pork, chicken, vegetables, fruit. I was pulling flowers out of the ground and throwing them on the grill just to cook something.
Just to cook
You
something.
know,
Yep.
it was that therapeutic thing of cooking
Absolutely.
and having to be the patience and stop and breathe for a minute.
Yes, yes, yes.
And like I said, all came back, and then it's like, okay,
Okay, I can keep
I'm
going
good.
now.
I
Yep,
accepted it. What's next?
yep,
And
yep.
that
And
August,
look, a
oh,
lot.
6 years later, now I'm meeting you. I'm meeting so many of the people I've looked up to and
Yeah.
found inspiration on from the TV shows, and have been blessed to be able to talk with them or be able to meet them and have a drink, share a hug. It's like all came from that one moment
That moment, I
of
understand.
of confusion to clarity, and then this is what I do, and been
So,
rolling ever since.
and that's called your grief work, and that was exactly the way you're supposed to do it. That's, you find where your comfort is, and then you work your way back to normal. I with my dad, I was I was convinced that it was over. Like I had people saying, you know, oh, are you going to close the restaurant? Are you going to do this, that? And I was just convinced it was over and decided to put my head down and just get through it. And I got an email asking me to audition for the barbecue brawl. And then they came back and said, no, no, never mind. We'll circle back around. And the circle back around was me doing Beat Bobby Flay. And so I filmed that less than 6 months after losing Daddy. I also filmed a show called Fire Masters. It was in Canada on the
Yeah.
Cooking Network. And so in the 15 months after he died, I did two TV shows and 15 festivals. And it was like, if you asked me to be there, I was there. And I think we went to Fargo. I mean, anywhere that anybody would let me come that I had never been before, especially because anywhere that I had been with him, of course, that was tough, you know. But finding out that they wanted me to do Beat Bobby Flay was like, that was my, oh, it's not over. I actually said that to my husband. Oh, it's not over. And he was like, you thought it was over? Like, no, you've been doing this too. You know, it's I tell you where I fall exceptionally lucky is with my team, with Craig, the barbecue ninja, the Beeve. I don't think you've met the Beeve, but you need to
No.
meet the Beeve.
Right.
The Beeve, I met him and his wife on their honeymoon in 1991 at Memphis in May. And in 1996, he joined our team as my whole hog cook. And we just did, my kid and his kids just cooked our Memphis in May hog and
Oh,
got us a fifth place. So, yeah. So, you know, so I'm not doing it by myself. I'm doing it with the same people I was doing it with my daddy. But you know, I'll get on an elevator at the end of a day, and I'll be like sweaty and stinky and smoky, and I'll look around to see where my daddy is, and I'm like, oh no, that's me. I'm the
yeah,
stinky one.
yeah, and you know, it's those little things. And even my wife, 2 years ago, she surprised me with a custom pit had
Oh,
built by my friend Ryan Newland from Backline Fabrication down in Austin, and they went completely behind my back. I had no clue, and I talked to Ryan. Obviously, I talk to my wife every day, but I talk to Ryan a
right.
few times a week. Nothing.
No, me
They're
too.
going emails and messages and this back and forth, and he's like, well, what do you want to do with like the competition on a trailer so we can just hook up and go? He goes, well, what, the paint and whatever. He goes, it can be. She goes, it can be any paint you want as long as it's purple. He's like, purple. He goes, that is his mother's favorite color. So
Oh,
he painted it the plum crazy purple from the 1970s Dodges muscle car.
wow.
You had to go to Arizona to get the paint because it was the only
What?
place that had it. And
Wow.
right up on the side on above the firebox is he had engraved out Miss Mary and put and
Oh,
it's bolted to the side. So my pit is Miss Mary with plum crazy purple after my mother.
oh, I love
You
that. I
know,
love that. My friends at Pappy's Restaurant in St. Louis have a Mr. Gary pit. They took our little orange logo and put one of my daddy's hats on it, and it's on the back of it. So whenever we go there, I mean, you know, I mean, it's so incredible to find out how much people love you. It just really is, and that was something that we really really found out when we lost my daddy. There were literally thousands of people who came for that funeral, and you know, it was my son Jacob wrote in his essay that the thing that everybody in the place had in common was barbecue. And it was just incredible to see that, like I knew he was awesome, but everybody else did too, you know. And not just that, but they looked after us as a family. You know, I can't tell you. Um, St. Louis, they did a proclamation from the mayor of St. Louis proclaiming, the Saturday that we were up there, the Gary Roark Barbecue Day, and it's just stuff. I mean, all over the country, even in Fargo, they didn't even know me, and they had something as a kindness for me. Um, I'm telling you, we're just lucky, man. We got good community. That's all there is to it.
That's it. But it's like you said, it's that feeling you get that you know they're there with you while we're
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
what we love.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's always there. It's always that little
Always.
special extra to
Yep,
it. But yeah,
yep.
Leslie, you've been so generous with your time. I don't want to keep you. I could keep you all night,
I
but
know we got so much to talk about. Why don't you come
there's,
hang out with me somewhere out there? Why don't you come
I'm gonna
come to Memphis in May or something like that? Come hang out with
I'm
us.
gonna have to. I'm gonna have to. I'll talk to my wife, and I'm sure she'll be down to go on a road trip. But we
Surely.
need to talk about, to finish it up, the Bloody Mary mix.
The Bloody Mary mix.
Why is Ubon's Bloody Mary mix so tremendous? Everybody raves about it.
It's
You can get it all over the country at this point. What makes it so special other than
so
the recipe started with love?
yeah, well, it was I think there's a video from 2008 that Amy Mills did of me fixing a Bloody Mary on a video because this, everybody at a contest has their sort of signature drink. Like for us, we have two. Ours was a Ubon special with bourbon, Sprite, and pineapple, and a Bloody Mary. And so I would make up the Bloody Marys, and that was just like a tradition. If you were at a competition, you came and had Bloody Marys with me. And so when we met our business partners in New York. My business partners, they've got their barbecue team name is Jubons. They're Jewish Ubons, and they that when we started selling barbecue sauce together, their dad, Bob Rosen, said, "Why are you selling barbecue sauce? You're using barbecue sauce to make Bloody Mary. Why don't you sell Bloody Mary?" And we were like, "Oh, okay. Why don't we?" And my husband and my youngest son are the ones that came up with the flavor profile. They're the ones who did the entire mix. My husband's undergraduate was as a chemist, and my son was 4 years old at the time. And so when we would get on airplanes, and this little kid would look up and say, "Can I have a Bloody Mary?" And the waitress, or I'm sorry, the flight attendant would look at us, and we're like, "Just no vodka, he's got to give it a shot." But this kid's palate is impeccable. And so when it was time to recreate a hot and spicy, it's based off of his palate. And we also have a vegan Bloody Mary mix that's in a
Okay.
can. It's different, but I mean, our main ones that you can get on ubonsbbq.com, that's, I mean, you don't have to add anything else to it. That's the thing, is we've already thought of it. It's in
All
there.
right. Just pour and go.
You
I
just pour and
love
go.
One stop. That's beautiful. So that was the other thing. Where can everybody find it? So ubonsbarbecue.com.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
the mix, what are the mix, the barbecue sauces, anything else on?
Yeah, we've got our t-shirts, our mix, our barbecue sauce, all of that's available on that
Oh,
website.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, like I said, Leslie, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm so glad we were able to do it because, like I said, we met in February down in Houston, and it was like we knew each other forever.
Always.
And, it was awesome. So
Well,
to
thank
get
you
you
for
on,
having me.
oh, we're gonna do this again. Don't you
Oh yeah,
worry.
we are. This isn't the end.
Absolutely. But like you said, Leslie, thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure.
I love you. You're fantastic. Always positive. And I want to give a little toast to Miss Mary and Mr. Gary.
Yes, don't you know they're having fun?
Oh yeah, for
Miss
sure.
Mary and Mr. Gary.
Absolutely. Leslie. Thank you so much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
where can everybody find you social media wise? Is everything under
So
the Princess and Ubon's?
we've got a couple at Ubon's BBQ. That's my husband. He's the one that takes all the great pictures and does all the cool stuff. I am Barbecue Princess, BARBEQUE Princess. And yeah, you can find us. I'm also Leslie Roark Scott on Facebook. So I love
Awesome.
hearing from everybody. Reach out to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Leslie. Hang on one second. I'm
Thank
going to close
you.
this out and jump back in with you. Well, that's it, folks. Thank you all for tuning in. Such a great interview. I was so happy we were able to coordinate. Have a great conversation about what we love. And thank you all for tuning in each and every week. Like I said, as of Wednesday, this is going to be 6 years, and it's 6 years because of you guys tuning in every week, getting the downloads and the audio and the support, the messages. I can't thank you all enough for keep pushing me forward. And I swear to God, guys, here's the new mic, and it's still screwed up. So I'm trying. I'm trying. I thought me and Dutch had it dialed in, but I was obviously wrong. But I'm working on it. But thank each and every one of you who listens, downloads, comments, everything. Everybody who's been part of the show before, all my guests through the years. I can't thank you all enough. But like I said, any questions or comments, please send them to Pit Life BBQ Podcast at gmail.com. You know the deal. Like, subscribe, rate, review, share it, get the word out. And like I said, thank you all for 6 years. And here's to another 6. Let's go. And until next week, keep the smoke rolling.